welcome back to Contact, a space engineer's something or other. Today I've made a bit of a space engineer's mistake, as you can see. My math for the pistony arm thing was just abysmal. Just bad. So yeah, I'm down here at the ice rig. It's done a second full push, so the whole sequence sort of happened. I did some off-screen mining. So, looks like we're about down to half ice now. Basically, the pistons went their entire distance out and then did an arc. Now, they did it at a, reasonable speed because it didn't bang the drills off. So it pushed all the way forward and made this nice arc, leaving this whole bit. So I had to reverse the pistons a bit, set it all up, and I should probably make sure that everything is reset. Yep, that's a positive velocity. It'll push it the positive direction. So those will swing in, and then the whole sequence should go. I think I've moved the drills back far enough that they will get this section. Hopefully. And I also set it up so each of these pistons, I think I was moving the pistons, moving the pistons slower than I needed to. So I've now got them set to go at 0.05. Did I not pick up? I didn't pick up my tank. Oh, this is a good start. Anyway, so the pistons now move at 0.5 meters a second each. So I guess that's 1.5 meters a second that the end is moving. So 1.5 meters every second for 30 seconds is still probably too much. Maybe I should slow them down. I don't know. This whole thing is complex and annoying. I'm just gonna leave it because, I don't need to be down here. Because we're also making very good progress on the tanks. So they're not yet full, but probably one more start of the drills will get them there. Then I may need to reset the system so that it kind of balances out and reaches a point where it's all off. But with these two tanks, pretty much full and ready, this is enough hydrogen. This is over one large tank of hydrogen, and my space vehicle is going to be a small grid vehicle. So I'm really not too worried about the whole fuel situation. It's not like I'm trying to fuel a big capital ship down here yet. So speaking of space vehicle, that is what I'm going to be focusing on today. I am getting to space in this episode. We've been down here long enough. The stuff we want isn't here. I want to go start building up there. I'm going to start off... Oh, actually... I've not messed with the inset connector. I've not really messed with too much in small grid in this yet. Aside from the truck, and it was pretty traditional. I think I'll start with one of these. I mean, it's functionally the same as a normal connector. It's just, more flush. So, my general idea here, I think I'm going to stick with things I've kind of experimented with, assuming it'll let me. Dang it. Okay, I can do one there. This may have been a mistake not building off of a stalk. Okay, fine. We'll do it the normal, boring way, at least to start. So, anyway. I'm thinking I'm going to design this. It's going to be a shuttle. It's going to have cargo on it. Enough that I can carry a good amount from the surface, but I also want it to have an accessible interior. Doesn't have to be a very, big interior, but this is going to be a larger than normal shuttlecraft. So the character can walk down this row. So if that is the floor and pretty much dead middle of the craft, I have pipes coming up either side. Oh. That's not going to work very well. My issue here is I kind of want this thing to be large grid piped. Do I need it to? No, maybe it isn't. I don't think I need large grid piping. My thought was I want the whole cargo system available for, parts and stuff. Because my plan is to basically load this up with stuff so I can go build a station. But, no, actually, if I just have a survival kit on here, which I need anyway so that I can respawn in space if something happens, basically I'm building a starting ship. This thing, it'll have enough cargo that it can carry a bunch of ore, or a bunch of refined material, that then the survival kit uses to build the basic stuff, and I build up, I'm basically doing a fresh start in space. Yeah, that should work. So if I have a straight pipe there, and we can do a T there, I may need to stick a block there just for placement. I can have my survival kit there, and then my O2H2 gen ahead of it. These are piped up so that I'll be able to get hydrogen and use ice to refill hydrogen. I'll be able to generate oxygen from this. And because this port is open, I can access this to get, hydrogen and stuff in my bottles. That goes back to a pretty good point. Then this is gonna be I should actually probably be doing this with the armored conveyors just to help assure airtightedness. But if I do something like that on this side, I'll have a row of cargo containers. So I can walk down the middle. I have access to all the equipment I need, cargo and whatnot. That should be a good basic interior. The next thing, and this is where this gets weird, I have a vision for this craft. Oh, and do I want... Suppose I have to decide if I want an oxygen tank. Maybe we'll hold off for now, and I could... Potentially, if there's a better spot for O2H2 generators, I could replace this with an oxygen tank. Then I have still an easy oxygen access. I have hydrogen access through this. I want the converter up here so that I can mine ice from asteroids if I need to. But if it's just stuck somewhere and I have tanks to fill from, that would work just as well. So from here, we'll do... Again, the piping side to side will be different, but it'll end up the same on the outside. If I then have one large hydrogen tank there, one large tank there, yeah, those should be good. Airtightness is going to be the challenge. In part because I can't remember if cargo containers are airtight. For some reason, I think the survival kit isn't, and that can cause some issues. Well, we'll get the basic design done, get a rough size, and hopefully that will tell me what I need to know. Okay. So, you may be noticing, these are hinges leading out to thrusters. And that at first glance is probably a little absurd looking. My idea here is it's going to be a sort of lander, but I want it to be able to convert to a, reasonably thrusted space flyer. So my idea, I'll have pistons sort of interlinking it so that this thruster can angle essentially 45 degrees down or 90 degrees down and become a lifting thruster. So I'll set up some hinges real quick and we should be able to test that, because I also need to make sure that the thrusters, when they're pointing down, aren't below the connector. So all the hinges are aligned the same way, so they should, when each chain is at 45 degrees, it should have this end pointing straight down. So let's do a test. Yeah. And they are definitely below the connector. So a second part of this test is alignment, because as you may know, these thrusters I wouldn't be able to control by just like locking the hinges. I wouldn't have control of them through a seat. I could override control them, but that's a pain. There are scripts that would allow me to do it, but that's a pain. The easiest solution is to use merge blocks. So my theory is I'd have a merge block on the thruster, and then on the hull of the ship, I have a merge block down here, then a merge block up here. So they move into position, merge with the merge blocks, and then I can control the thrusters again. The reason I have to do this with this 2-hinge setup, aside from the fact that one hinge would struggle to line up correctly, I believe, though maybe it wouldn't, actually. But I need this multi-hinge fandango because you can't have a hinge part in the same position as a hinge. It's the same issue we ran into with the pipeline, where I couldn't make the middle section static and have the end bit static. Basically how these are now, the hinge and hinge part are seen as sort of separate entities that have closer collisions, but if they're made static, they essentially get like a different hitbox, you could think of it as. Mechanically, that's not quite how it works, but it can't count these both as in the same position while they're the same grid. It's a limitation of the game engine. So having this bit in the middle that is loose, it will invite a little bit of clang, but I've had some clangy contraptions before and not really suffered the consequences, so I don't think this will be any different. Okay, this is a much jankier looking solution, but kind of the same idea. So I've just converted to small grid hinges. Hopefully that angles it better. I'm honestly not loving the look, so height-wise is pretty good. Though I would need to step out the hinges, I think, to make everything line up correctly. I've got a better idea. So I realized it's probably easier to keep them with these nice sort of thick hinges that look like they could support actual thrust. Just raise them up a block. Which I'd need to do anyway because, well, technically that could be the ceiling height, but I'll probably have the ceiling go one higher. So there'd be height up there anyway. There might as well be, tubes up there. Now I get to extend things out because essentially I want my sort of merge blocks to go here. And actually, hold on. That should be fairly easy. Gonna use these. No, fit with my design vision. But I just do that. I mean, bam, there we are. I am seeing an issue with my design that we'll run with it for now. I don't know, I may completely redo this if it doesn't stylistically look good. Dang it. So I'm in a situation now. I want to move these sort of pods out a block. There is no good way to do that. Well, there are ways. There's no easy way, which is just copy and paste, which if this were, ship of the week, I could just do. But I can't do that in this, which means I'm gonna need the bits for pistons and merge blocks. Okay. This could get a little janky. I don't know if it matters, but I'm gonna weld up this other landing gear just to make double sure that, everything stays still. Because it's all locked down, I shouldn't risk too much clang. But this could get very awkward. Okay. Whoop. This is not very... Oh, okay. This is all very nerve-wracking. So, okay. If I put... Let's do one merge block there, one there. That'll push this out one block, which will give me... Essentially, I want room to have a layer of armor on the outside of all this, because that'll make airtightness much more convenient. And I think it'll help with the armor shaping I'm trying for. Okay. That went much easier than I thought it would. Ooh, I don't know where... Well, okay, yes. The middle row on the tank should have connection. So I can grind that out. Replace it with a tube. Okay. That's now connected. Now we do the same thing over here. So I guess this sort of skill is something I'm going to need to get used to, given this is sort of how you're supposed to interact with the Prototech blocks. At least to my general knowledge. Because the whole idea is that you can't build them. You have to find them and steal them, essentially. Which I'm sure we'll talk about more as it's happening. It's an interesting idea, but I don't know. For some reason, it takes me out of the world a little bit, because nothing else in the world behaves that way. I guess I'm disproving that because it's what I'm doing right now. Okay, with all that done, now let's set up our hinges and move them. That's the upper position. I want to make sure they align well with the lower position. I'm pretty sure they will, because I think the block scale, that just kind of works. But I'm also doing no math, so God only knows, really. And it's not looking likely. Uh-oh. So the other option here, potentially... Because I don't... Right, if this doesn't align... Right, I don't think 90 would align then. Maybe it would. Let's do some experimenting. So with that straight up... and this one... Able to go all the... Oh, God. My mouse wheel is not good. Okay. With that all the way down, does this line up well to a block? It does. Oh God, I'm gonna have to... I could lower these back down a block, which is a pain. But yeah, so maybe... It's gonna be awkward because, of course, I have this hinge here. I kind of wanted to use it. Let's try... Let's try something else weird. Okay, so if this is set to 70... That is set to 30. My math is wrong. Because I was doing 100, but 90 is correct. So this is why I avoid math most of the time. Yeah, that's gonna be off. I'm certain that someone understands, you know, things enough to make this work. My guess is there's some middle ground where both hinges are bent slightly and still they line up. But I don't know where that middle ground would live. So, yeah, I think we just... This hinge doesn't move. Yeah, it's not super great. I would have liked to do it. I don't know, I just feel like the hinge is being... Like, this looks like some sort of big, beefy thruster leg strut. This just looks like an excessive use of parts. It isn't because of the limits of the game engine, but that's because of the limits. I may cover this hinge up with armor, as much as that's a horrible idea in general, just so that it doesn't look as bad. But I think this is how we're going to have to do it. So... Oh. Well, those are full. That's nice. We have a slight issue. Let's get in here. I've been building and welding for quite a while. Wait. Oh, fully recharged. Okay, actually. Never mind, we have an opposite issue. Where everything at the base is done. Tanks are full, batteries are fully charged. Oh. I don't think I mentioned, it doesn't do much, but I did add these little wind turbines. They're going real slow right now because it's kind of foggy. But they do a reasonable job. They're enough, they give just a little bit more of a boost to the rig down here, which didn't start. But because the tanks are full... Yeah, that's staying full. That's pretty good. Anyway, I don't know why my production stopped. I'll go over a quick tour of this in a second. Ah, I see the issue. For some reason, it is full of 26,000 iron that I don't think it needs. Let's send some of this to the, yeah, cargo container. I guess the, refinery pushed all of the material. I can't get there from here. Refinery pushed all the material, and because the assembler is closer than the cargo container, that's where it decided to go, which is not where I wanted it. But that's fine. So, welcome to this as of yet unnamed dropship. So, I mean, it's pretty much all here, exposed to the world. I kind of finished out the shell. It's got a very, I don't know, very drop shippy, it's ready for re-entry type of shell. I've obviously welded up all of the thrusters and hinge assemblies, though I do. Where are you, thrusters? So I do need directional thrust, and my thought for the directional thrust is a little silly, but if I have them on the big thrusters, what that will mean, and I should be putting them in here. Oh, you'll notice too. So the merge blocks are connected because they're green. So these are in this orientation connected to the ship. So it's all one grid. This little grid in the middle is doing its thing. So my thought with the thrusters in this orientation, when the drop pod is sort of angled for planetary landing and flight, I will have essentially two small thrusters of thrust in each direction, which for, you know, a drop ship that is supposed to be coming straight down should be perfectly fine. But when I angle the thrusters to be in the sort of space flight forward and back orientation, I will need to probably turn off these inner thrusters in this orientation because they will cook the hydrogen tank, which isn't good. But in planetary flight, or in space flight, I'll have my main boosters forward and reverse for acceleration and braking, then 2 up, 2 down, and 2 side to side again. So it gives me all of my thrust in both orientations, keeps it nice and balanced, and kind of, I don't know, it balances out this thing, though I don't know if it needed balancing. Yeah, I think this will be a good way to do it. It does mean that in this orientation I have no down thrust, but on a planet with gravity you don't need it. So, in theory, once I get high enough that I would want to, that I would need to worry about stopping my ascent, I'm in space, so I changed to space orientation and all is good. Up front, I obviously have my cockpit. I'm going to have glass in here so that it's, I can see. It's sort of oriented so I'm looking down. Then back here, I have my door with my little ramp. I thought about trying to do something where this is like hinged and whatnot, but this already has some janky subgrids, so no need to push my luck. This will work fine. And once this thing is on the ground, it means I'll be able to walk straight up this without having to jump, because this little flap will be touching the deck. Which does bring me to my next sort of point. As I'm finishing up and detailing and welding up the inside of this ship, I'd kind of like it to be, charging its batteries on the connector, and it'll mean I can use this cargo port in the floor to access the bits. Which means I need to drop this off of its little landing leg, which I'm debating, do I try? I think I'm going to have to. I think I'm going to have to fuel this a little bit. Because they're close, but I don't think the magnets are going to be able to pull those two connectors together. And even if they do, they may well rip up the bottom of this thing, which isn't really what I want. Oh god, I just had a... Oh no. I had an idea, people. So, we have the ability now to, through like timer block commands, set hinges and rotors to move to a certain position. That means, in theory, I could have different commands for different positions of these hinges. Which then means I could have liftoff orientation, where they're in this position and attached to the ship. Could have spaceflight orientation, where they're forward and back. Then I could have landed, where these hinges hinge down, these hinge up a little bit, and it sets the thrusters on the ground. This is not needed at all, by the way, because this thing should just kind of balance. But it feels like it should have some outer stabilizing. I'm gonna have to do it, aren't I? Alright, well, that's gonna be some programming. First up, let me get some ice. I shouldn't need much fuel to get this, shuffled over where I need it. Though, to refuel this, I have to build this, which means I need to build this and all the piping. Screw it, we'll just build the thing and we'll worry about connecting and charging it later. Okay, I think I've made the hinges work. So, I've got 3 event controllers. Didn't end up using these timer blocks yet. I don't know if I need them or not. Basically what the event controllers are set up to do. So, each of them is watching for a block to be on and off, and that block is one of the merge blocks. So I'm going to have groups with the different merge blocks based on the orientation the thrusters would be in when attached. By turning those on and off, this system should then adjust my hinges to the correct positions and set the various thruster pieces to different ons or offs. The landed controller, that is when I'm on the ground and I want the things to both 45-degree push down. It's watching basically both of the groups. It's got the AND gate on, and I've set all the things to happen in what I think is the off position. I'm pretty sure how this works is if it detects the block turns on, this happens. If it detects it turns off, this happens. I could be wrong, though the wording is weird on the event controller for this one. So, I figure the best way to figure this out is just to do it. Now, I haven't made my groups yet, so my naming wasn't also the most perfect. So these are for when I'm on planetary flight. These 4 are for space flight. And there are no merge blocks for landed, but I also didn't save these. If I just have those 2 on the hotbar, which one was which? So space flight is that, planet flight is that. So space flight is off. Ruh-roh. Dang it. Hopefully that's just a... Hopefully that's not an issue. Will that reset things? Nope. Oh boy. Okay. Well, I don't... Hopefully nothing explodes, just... I normally wouldn't do this, because this is just weird clanging. Let's just save. Off. Okay. At off, they move to minus 45, which is actually probably a bit low. But that's fine. So this is like the start default position for the ship. That's what we'll call this. So if I want to do planetary flight, I need labels for these. So planetary flight is number 1. So if I hit number 1, the hinges move into position. Now, this is where I think I need the timer blocks, because I should be controlling these merge blocks with timers. That way I can turn off one, turn on the other. Because otherwise, so I'm in planetary flight now. When I need to switch, if I turn that off, they'll move down. And then I turn that on, they move up. Off, they go down. The banging is a little disconcerting. But yeah, that is looking right. Actually, hold on. This is gonna get janky. So, okay. This is my planetary flight event controller. If I tell it in the event controller to turn off the space flight ones, and then the space flight, I tell it to turn off planet. Okay, that may work. So currently, we're in planetary flight. If I hit 2, nope, that doesn't work. It confuses it because the 2 events happen at the same time. Oh, which means I need it. Okay. I think I just have to accept the fact that I have to move to the intermediate. I have to move to landed before I can move to space orientation. It's just how this works. I also removed, most of the interior because I realized batteries I don't think are airtight, and I don't know if this is airtight. It might be. There may be no air leaks, but I'm going to go ahead and fill in the floor. I kind of hope to avoid this just to save a little bit of weight, but I think it's going to be needed. So there we go. That way I'll leave these open for now. If they aren't airtight, I can put plates over it all and that'll fix that. Let's go ahead and stick the... actually... should get this stuff built before I cover it up, and then I guess I'll finish this off and, I don't know, see if it explodes when I try and launch it. Why can I not? I can't turn my jetpack on for some reason. I'm stuck. Uh-oh. Oh boy. Yeah, that's weird. I've lost control of myself. Well, it's, you wonder the ethics of them putting these in the suits. That is, I think, my first death in this series. I can't remember if I've died before. It's kind of a sad way to start, but I have a funny feeling that it's not going to be the last one. Alright, everybody. I'm proud to introduce you to the Complex Landing Craft, or CLC. So, yeah, everything is built, welded, painted, hooked up. I've got details aplenty. I guess we'll start with the outside. So I've got my thrusters in their, determined orientation from all the futzing about and clanginess. I've got some lights pointing down at the ground. I've got some other just little navigational lights. I realized if I put them down here, they'll sort of stay at the outside of the ship. So in this position, they're down, but they're at the corners. When they're up, they'll be at the corners. They sort of face different ways, but I don't know. Seemed like a fun little way to do that. Got headlights. We have a windshield with the cockpit. Around back, we have the back door. I have no fuel. That's great. Back door. There's a spotlight here, sort of shining into the door well. I'll need to cycle everything, but I've got the lighting set up, so then the different sort of thruster position orientations, different lights will turn on. Like, in this orientation, these lights and the antenna and all that stuff will be turned off. Then when I'm in either flight orientation, the sort of outer lights turn on and this one will turn off. So, again, excessive, but just a little fun. So hopping in, we have our cargo containers, the basic core. I have a ore detector up here. Just I need one on the ship, so there it is. Which, while I am thinking about it, oh nope, it is at max range. I didn't change that, so they've changed the default to max, which makes sense. I don't know why you'd ever want it less than maximum range. But yeah, so we've got that. We've got our, computer bit. I have a vent here, which I think was visible before, but I didn't mention. I've currently got it depressurizing to fill up the O2 tank, which was full, and then I had to grind it down to paint the floor. Yeah, that was a pain. Oh, speaking of painting, there we go. So our cockpit up here, we have these, fun little detail-y bits, which I guess, I don't know, I had these just kind of in the corner. Maybe I don't. Maybe either I put them, well, I can't put it there. Yeah, I don't think they add as much of what I was hoping they added in that position. That's fine. Little terminally things on each side. This is set up, and you'll notice this little window. So I realized it would probably be handy if I could, from, inside without having to look out, change the thrusters. So I have, this moves the, what is, I think, so that's land, so that would be planetary flight, that is space flight. I should probably fix the labels on these. So, we have a button for planetary flight mode, a button for space flight mode, and then the third button I just have set up to control this vent to change the cabin pressure. Because once I go to space, there's obviously no airlocks, so I want this breathable, but I want to be able to take that air back into the tank when I'm done with it, or when I, don't want to vent it into space. So yeah, our actual cockpit here got nice views. It's kind of constricted, but of course, we have the external view that does the job. I've got some sort of extra LCD panels. I'm going to put the controls on that one, but I wanted to set up the controls first. Alright, there we go. So now I have quick reference for what my buttons do. I have the little, this thing that's not super critical because I also have the thing on the screen. And the sun has gone down during the setup. Well, actually, the first order of business here is I need to get this connected so I can fuel up. Let's go into third person here so we can see what happens. And space flight or planet flight mode. Engaged. Thrusters are on. I'm not going to have much time here, but okay. Oh, dang. It does do the annoying thing of drifting down. But that's okay, because this isn't really even meant for planets, aside from going up and down. So, okay, we're down. Turn off my thrust, my legs push down. to the ground, which is perfect. Except for I think they're pushing through the ground, which is less perfect. I'm just gonna turn those on again real quick before, oh, I need a control for docking. Okay. We're now locked. I'm going to adjust. Well, do I need to adjust how far the legs move? Probably should. It was a little disturbing having him push into the ground. But maybe they didn't. Let's just see what happens. They're definitely pushing into the ground. Look, it seems comfortable, so I'll just leave it and hope it doesn't explode. We can now see the ramp working, which is nice. We will stockpile on the hydrogen tanks to fill them up quicker. Where are my... Set the batteries to recharge. So we should be pretty much ready for flight. Guess the last thing is just going to be filling ourselves up with enough ores that we can kind of do whatever we need to do. Okay, so that is a good chunk of materials stuck into all the containers. I am gonna take... well, not all of this. Oh, right. I have to access some... I can't access everything because of the piping situation. So, put that stuff back. Take any sort of personal goods that I may need. I should probably disassemble some of this stuff, because radio components... they're just iron and silicon, actually. So yeah, I should have everything. All my gold and whatnot. Ow. Are these? Those are back to full, which means all the systems should have stayed not moving. Yep, we haven't mined yet. I'm going... actually, I do have a lot of room. And take some of this up just to have a stockpile of ice on hand. I'll probably turn the O2H2 gen off until I need it. Okay, I think we're loaded. That's now full. So we go take a quick nap. Let the sun come around, and then I think it's time to go. Okay, there's the sun. And we're still in the shade over here, but here is our mighty ship. Oh, and because I toggled the things, yeah, the lights all turned off. Got our ominous light illuminating the ramp. Let's check real quick. So depressurize off. And it's still yellow. Yep, room is not pressurized. Okay, I'm pretty sure I need to cover up these batteries. Yep, pressurized. Alright. Well then. Suppose we are ready to go. Alright, door is closed. Room is pressurized. Switching to planetary flight configuration. Flight configuration achieved. In 3, 2, 1. Up. No. Right. I forgot all the other important bits. Batteries on. What are our batteries at? Uh, 80% each. I do have solar panels on the roof. I don't know if I showed those. So we should be good for power. Alright. Tanks. Off stockpile. And up we go. That was not a smooth takeoff. Oh, and we do not. It rolls really slowly. Okay, let's tone down our thrust. We have definitely enough thrust to lift off. Okay. It's holding pretty steady. Yeah, this seems like not an issue. I was slightly worried that I would have overladen this thing, but it does have a lot of thrust for not actually that much cargo capacity, so... Ooh, does look good. Yeah, look at that. My view from inside is... Yeah, looking pretty good. Probably, yep. Knock my thrust off a bit. Gravity is falling, which is good. We're outside the atmosphere. Still breathing. Oh. Conveniently, my helmet is closed because I had to, inhabit a new clone, so to speak. Yeah, it does seem to list a little. That's kind of to be expected. It's barely noticeable. Though, I mean, yeah, it's pretty sluggish. This thing is not a fighting craft. Which it isn't because I don't have any guns on it either. But, yeah, not super nimble, but it'll do a great job hurtling at planets or hurtling away from planets, which is really all I need it to do. I should probably, just gander up and make sure there's no asteroid above me. That's the downside. From the interior view, I did not put a skylight in. Probably would have been smart. In fact, yeah, actually right there could be another solar panel, I think is there. Yeah, no, maybe we get up here and cut some holes to see what looks good. I guess while I'm doing this, I should talk about my plans for up here. I guess I could find the moon, maybe. Wherever it lives. But, general plan is to go up here. I'm going to build some sort of space station to serve as a sort of space base. And then from there, I should be able to, expand out, build combat craft, and go check out some of these, yellow fellas, whatever their name was. Can't remember now. Happy little spider crab creature thing, high above the earth. I probably should have put parachutes on this for landing, but it's got big thrusters. Who needs parachutes? I am seeing some asteroids up here, which is good. I kind of want to stay relatively straight up above the home base because that is the best spot I have to go and gather materials. So it's not a bad idea to stay close. Let's go ahead. I bet you my momentum will carry me. Disable my thrust. I'm gonna go ahead and switch modes here. There we go. I don't think any of my thrusters merged. There they go. Well, no, there half of them go. There they go. Okay, so maybe this is not the most efficient method of flight. This may be over-engineered as a spacecraft. But it looks cool, and looking cool is like 50% of the battle. Oh. Okay, and that is space, and actually I've come up. This is a pretty good spot to be. That little asteroid area, there's a bunch of asteroids real close around. Well, as we slowly decelerate here, I'll go ahead and do an outro. That was Earth, and now we're left it. That was not very good. It's been a long recording day. There are some big gaps where I built this thing, but yeah, the video has been recording for 4 hours. So I'm a little loopy. But I'm loopy in space. I've got a whole bunch of materials, raw materials that I'm going to have to fashion into useful things. But I also have the ability to fashion them, so we're good there. So, thank you everybody so much for watching. We'll get on to that space building and I guess figuring out what I'm going to do up here, how I'm going to go about scouting and then eventually taking on the people who I can't remember still. Yeah, until next week. Bye-bye.